It's the SWP Disciple. Just got out of the gym, 10:08. Pay no attention to the tire pressure monitor there. I should handle that, but the spot that I usually go to has like a snowbank, like basically covering the air pump, if you will. I really should buy my own, and I mean, this is my fault anyway. I have like used tires up front, and I was waiting until I go to Toronto next month to buy probably new tires for the front, if not, very lightly used. There's a spot right down that way. Actually, I'll kind of drive that way just to show you at the Gulf where they sell like lightly used. Like, I don't know if these are like off of cars where they got into an accident or something. I don't know, but like they often have essentially brand new tires. I went to a different spot this time and they literally sold me about a year ago an old tire, and it has like a slow leak. So at first it was fine, but like now, like every like couple weeks or so, I have to put air in it. So all right, I guess they brought it in. Usually it's right over here where this like big snowbank is during the day, but I guess because they're closed, they took it out. But yeah, they have tire service here, and they have like a rack of both new and very lightly used tires. Tires have got to be like the fastest depreciating thing that you can buy, because you can, I don't know, buy like the tires that are on this. I mean, I wouldn't put like Pilot, Michelin Pilot Sports on here, but I think they're like 225 55 17, so like 225 millimeters wide. The profile is like 60 millimeters, like above and below the wheel, and then the rim size is 17. I wouldn't put like Pilot Sports or like fancy like Pirelli Scorpions or anything like that on here, but I would put some decent like Firestone Firehawks or Bridgestones or something like that on there. But anyway, you figure like a nice like pro sport spec, try saying that 3 times, tire would probably be like, I don't know, just over 200 a tire, but used $50, plus mounting or whatever. So I know that online sometimes women joke about guys who are like, well, I wouldn't date a guy that can't buy all 4 matching tires for his car, something like that. But for my daily, certainly. Now for the BMW, I do have a set of really nice Continental Sport tires on there. But for my daily, since this is like my road trip mobile and all that or whatever, I mean, as long as they're safe and they have decent road holding, I don't think it matters that much. Though a part of me is guilty, right? I'm like, I probably should buy a set of 4, but I gotta wait for them to wear appropriately, because my rear tires are actually new, or they were new. It's the fronts that I keep like buying lightly used tires for. So anyway, my little ramble for no reason for like 3 minutes. So anyway, as usual, one SWP Disciple is in quite the pickle. So I've been running myself ragged. So I work my normal job at, I won't say the company's name, but a pretty decent sized, though privately held, not publicly traded, boutique financial firm, and I work in the wealth management department, and I train reps, the reps that are out in the field making the money. I train them on our financial planning software, and like we have the software like Advice Pay, so we can put clients on like a subscription service, so they meet more often, but they also pay more, more often. Deepens the relationship with the client instead of like the requisite meeting once a year, blah blah blah. So I trade on all that, even though I'm licensed like a stockbroker. I'm like back office, blah blah blah. But it's quite a bit of work, because we just acquired a pretty large independent broker dealer with like 4,000 reps. So we've been slammed, and it's about to get worse because there's only 3 people in my on my team, and our team lead, he just had a baby girl at the end of last year, and he is going to go on paternity leave. So he can bond with his little baby girl. It's his 3rd child. I always wonder about these things, because I know even though he's team lead, like, he makes, a few bucks more than me and our other colleague. Let's say, I don't know, 10, hell, even $20,000 more. I don't think it's 20, but, he makes somewhat more. But like, how do you live? And he lives out in LA, basically in California, with 3 kids, and he's very conservative. So like his Wife stays at home to watch the kids and stuff. Though I suppose you don't necessarily need to be conservative these days with the price of childcare, but I don't know how he affords it is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, he's going to be gone for 6 weeks, so it's just going to be me and call him Kay holding down the fort. And there's going to be a couple days in between where, you know, Kay, he lives in Houston and he's very big into, like, I won't say what group or whatever, but like he does like community service and goes to like the rodeo and stuff down there. So there's going to be days where like I'm by myself. I'm going to Toronto next month to see my cousins. He'll be by himself. I have no idea how they're doing this. And our jobs are such where, though we're only paid like low white collar wages, relatively speaking, it takes quite a bit of training to do what we do. So even if they hired somebody else, which the reps are always calling and they're like, I think you need an extra body or two or whatever. And I'm like, you said it, I didn't. It takes probably a good, like, better part of 6 months, if not longer, to grasp the learning curve of our positions. You can't just grab someone off the street, even if they're licensed, and, you know, they'll get the swing of things. Not to mention you have to have certain licenses to hold the position, which, I mean, you know, I have several licenses, you know, 6, 63, 7, 66, 24. You don't need all those, but you need at least I think a 7 and a 66, which is not easy to come by. So it gives me job security, and it's written into my contract. They have to pay me, 2 weeks salary for every year that I've been with the company if I ever fired. So 12 years, so a 24-week check. You know, they have to cut like a $40-something thousand check. So I'm pretty secure. Obviously, nothing's ironclad, but at the same time, I have not been looking forward to going into my job lately because it's been so much work and a lot of changes and all that. You know, with e-money and Money Guide Pro and all that, and ATS, you know, advanced time segmentation, and whatever else. More than that too. So anyway, I've been juggling that. Obviously at the optical shop on Saturdays, and you know, lately for like the last 6 months or so, I've been doing Thursday evenings since I'm not in law school right now. And then in order to get into law school, you can't let go of the rope, right? So I work for a lawyer. Obviously, I won't say the firm's name because it's right here in town, and it's like kind of like a mom and pop place. It's not like it's a big chain or a big law or anything like that. And I've been working there burning the midnight oil. I mean, figuratively. I mean, the other night I was there until like 10:30, and we just wrapped up an interrogatory on a pretty tough case where we're countersuing, and you know, there's a suit against us. I won't get into it right now. I'll let you know. And we just finished the interrogatory after requesting an extension like quite a few times, and now we gotta construct their questions for admissions in their interrogatory and blah blah blah. And you know, they got 30 days to answer it. But you know, we're kind of turning the corner. The hard part's done, but more than likely we're gonna have to send it to like arbitration or mediation, and it's probably gonna be an award both ways, but theirs will probably be larger just because of 93A and, you know, treble charges or whatever for lawyer fees and all that. So it sucks. I mean, the cool thing is I'm learning a lot, and the attorney that I'm working under, he's like a friend of mine, which conveniently, I mean, I didn't plan it this way. It's just kind of how it worked out. He's close friends with the dean at this, you know, the school that I went to, you know, Western New England, and that I'm trying to get back into. And now begins the story. So, you know, I spoke with my my con law professor last week, you know, constitution law, because I need, you know, 3 letters. So enthusiastically, my tort law professor and my property professor, they're like, oh yeah, we got your back, disciple. We'll write a letter for you, because I need ostensibly 3 letters from 3 professors. It says 3 letters from 3 full-time staff, which, I mean, it could be someone from admissions, or it could be the janitor that works full-time, but realistically for most people it's going to be from 3 professors to vouch for you. And of course my con law professor, she's like low-key, I mean, she's been very cordial. She's actually a pretty prominent professor or player, like lawyer, in this area, but player is the word I'm looking for. A big player in the gay and lesbian, like, you know, LGBTQIA community here in Western Mass. If I gave you a few more details, you could just Google her and she'd come up. She's like a pretty very scholarly constitutional law professor, which is why she was my constitutional law professor. That is one of the 3 classes I didn't do well in. You know, I got a C in her class. Kind of hit the bottom of the curve. And, you know, got bumped down. Even if I'd gotten like just a C+, I'd be out of hot water, since, you know, I missed the cut by 0.04, so 0.04 of a point. So that those 0.3 points from, you know, being bumped up to a C+ would have been enough to keep me out of hot water, and I wouldn't have to take a year off or longer, as it may turn out. So anyway, I chatted with her. She's been quite nice, though with an undertone of like, I don't know if you're like really law school material. I think you might even need to take another year off just to get your act together and get certain ducks in a row and cut your hours at work and da-da-da. And everyone's really harping on cutting my hours at work. Like, I have a full-time job. I can cut the part-time jobs. Obviously, I won't be doing the internship when it comes back. It'll be at minimum, my 40 hours at my main job at the financial firm. But I can't cut that because I can't. The job is a full-time job. There is no part-time position. Low key, as you know, my boss, she doesn't like me. Like, she wouldn't even, in my 1L year, I'm off at 6, classes start at 6. She wouldn't even let me off at like 5:45 so I could get to class on time. And she knew what she was doing. And she also didn't write my recommendation letter to get in, which, I found other people, but it's pretty like open animus in a sense. We've been all right for like the last year, but like, she's already done some things that are like kind of like, they're on the board, right? But she's in a situation where like, I can't do anything about it necessarily. I very nearly went to, the director that's above her, on some like Soul Brothers type steez, like, because he's black. But I was cautioned by a mutual friend of ours that I'm, quite close to. I'm probably going to see her in Texas in a month or two. And she was like, no, you're, my boss and he are pretty close and it may actually backfire. So I was like, all right, I just stood down, just took it and just worked around it. But as is always the case, and I'm going somewhere with this, things always tie together, like in the negative for me in a lot of ways, it seems. I mean, I get lucky sometimes, but more often than not, it seems like it always ties together in the negative. So, all right, here begins the story. So the dean, who knows, the attorney that I work under, I'm actually about to, if you're paying attention, I'm not going to point it out, but I'm actually about to drive by the law office right now. I'm downtown Springfield. And it's going to be, I'm going to drive right by it, but again, I'm not going to tell you. He's close with very close with the dean of, of the evening law students, if not overall law. I didn't check all the fine print. Really cool cat. So I'm texting him, because I have his actual personal phone number, not the attorney that I work for, but like the dean at my school. And I'm like, yeah, all right. So, I spoke with, I won't say her name, my con law professor. She's basically saying getting in, there's 2 ways to get back in, right? You can overturn the dismissal or you can just apply again. And so it turns out that trying to overturn the dismissal, it's written basically airtight. It basically says if there's an error and you present 3 people to vouch for you, we will re-review your case. But the thing is, error, all that really means is like if we miscalculated, your 2.26 GPA that needed to be a 2.3. But there is no error, right? Like they're gonna review all the exams, everything that I did, and they're gonna find out that your grade was your grade. Sorry, tough noogies, you're out of here. So the only way to get back in, and they do it like that intentionally, where they kind of flex it in the sense of if they really like you, is how I interpret it. And I went over it with the attorney that I work for and with the con law professor. Now obviously my con law professor, she has to be way more like judicious in the way that she speaks. She can't say, if we really like you and you think that you have real promise and you'll be a feather to the cap of the program and you'll pass the bar first try, yada yada yada, we'll turn a blind eye and get you back in. Because I know someone who was able to get back in, and he told me, he didn't tell me exactly how much, but he told me he was much further off than I was. And he actually lamented because another one of our classmates who was similarly far off, but he just kind of hit the margin, like he hit the 2-3 to get back in. But as far as I understand, the writing class, he struggled with it as well, and I think he got like a D, but he was able to counterbalance it with his other grades and just barely got over the 2-3, and they let him continue, right? So there is like a lot of squishiness to it where if they like you, and I mean, he has like an engineering background, law schools, famously or notoriously, or however you want to look at it, they love people with like really like erudite backgrounds, like engineers. I'd imagine like people with like a medical background, probably if you have like a physics type background or something like that. Me, I'm just a regular like social sciences type. I mean, even though economics, depending on the school you go to, you can finish with a Bachelor of Arts, you can finish with a Bachelor of Sciences. Most people kind of look at economics, it's like one of those weird things. If you talk to somebody on the street even if they have no schooling, they think they understand economics, even though they really don't. So it's one of those things where it's almost like psychology, right? Even if you have no clinical psychology background or anything like that, everybody thinks they understand psychology to a certain level. So it's like not as prestigious, unless you have like a PhD or something like that. It's not as prestigious as it probably should be in a lot of ways, though it is like kind of known by those that know as like quintessential, like, you know, smart guy major. Like, in other words, if you have a good grasp of economics, you can probably learn anything if you apply yourself, right? But whatever, that's my little soapbox. So I know by two, you know, albeit anecdotal, I know by two examples that they just, you know, don't like me. Nothing personal per se, but whatever they see or whoever, I'm sure the professors they talk to them behind the scenes, they think that I'm just not it, right? So anyway, again, I keep saying I'm getting to the story. So as you might imagine, you know, going through a year, they assign you a lot of times a TA, which your TA is nothing more than like an upperclassman who's like kind of gone through it all, but they, you know, they did really well in the classes, so they assign them as like almost like a counselor. And one, I'll call her S, who I became really close to, but she knows, you know, a lot of other people. And through her, I kind of became very, like, you know, ingratiated with a lot of like classmates and upperclassmen who I otherwise wouldn't really be rubbing elbows with. So anyway, her graduation party was last year, like May. So I go to that, and another one of her friends, somehow, like, you know how you go to places and some people have a +1? I was just there by myself. I wasn't even like super dressed up. I was there literally in like a Celtics polo, like, you know, because it goes Celtics, right? And like, you know, a nice pair of pants and some shoes or whatever. But I had like a Celtics polo that one of my best friends, you know, my friend from Texas, that she bought me years ago. It was my first time wearing it though. So I wore it or whatever, and then it was almost like we paired off. So another friend, and I like her as a person for sure. Like, she's really nice. She's actually kind of cute too. I won't get into like how she looks and all that because it really doesn't matter. And I'm not on that anyway. But let's just say, you know, she's cute and we got along. So we're sitting at the table, and it's almost like it pairs off, almost like I went there as like, as we went there as like each other's +1, whatever. So then after the graduation party, we go to like, it happened to be like Haitian Pride Day or Haitian Independence Day or whatever. So we go to like this like nightclub. This is like in Hartford, and because the venue was like a Knights of Columbus, like one of those like halls that you rent for like, you know, lowbrow weddings or like parties, gatherings, whatever. But it was for the graduation party. It was nice, you know, they outfitted it nicely, and then no one wanted to go home, whatever. So we went to like this what ostensibly was like a Haitian party spot afterwards. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm Jamaican, right? Close enough. And they all gave out like little Haitian flags. It was like Haitian like Independence Day or whatever. And, you know, we go to the Haitian spot and we're like dancing compa and like, you know, just having a good old time listening to like Haitian music or whatever. And again, I end up kind of pairing off with this girl, and we're dancing fairly intimately. I'm not a great dancer, to be honest with you, but like whatever, it's like it's slow dancing, nothing sleazy, whatever, like, you know, we're just having a good time, whatever. And then from there it just kind of becomes a fast friendship. Like even before then, like, you know, we would see each other like in the library, and like she'd graduated years before and was like some kind of administrative role in the school. I'm going somewhere with that, right, for the 5th time, but it all ties together. So whatever, you know. And then this is like May of last year, I believe, April or May, I think it was May. And then through the summer, we become fast friends. Again, I'm like in my limerence. I'm still reeling over like my ex. I know you're tired of hearing it. At this point now, it's been 3 years. You're probably like, oh, get over it, disciple. You already know how I am, right? So I'm just kind of letting it wash over me, and I'm in it. You know, it is what it is. It'll last for however long it lasts. But we become fast friends, and to the point where, you know, picking her up at the airport when she's, you know, going on a, you know, coming back from Jamaica or whatever, like late night, we're just kind of like texting on the phone, really innocent, nothing crazy. Like it's like, I don't necessarily like talking on the phone, and as I get older, I don't even necessarily like long texting unless it's like for a point or whatever. And we're doing that, and then it'll be like 11:30, 12, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna just come by. And she lives kind of like on the other side of town. Now Springfield's there's not like a whole lot of urban sprawl, so you can get from one end of Springfield to the other in like 20 minutes, and where she's at nighttime, probably like 12, 15 minutes. So I'm not stupid. Obviously, I can see that she likes me or whatever, but she comes over, and we're literally Netflix and chill. I order some like wings over, like, you know, some lemon pepper, like Rick Ross, right? Some Ricky Rosé. and just have a good old time, like literally like Netflix and chilling. I'm not talking about parlaying. I'm not talking about like intimate massage or we're making out or anything like that. Like we're just doing that, and we did that like all summer, like many times. So anyway, it gets to a point like in, I'd say like September. So obviously my birthday's in September. She gets a big promotion. So this is where I might be screwed. Now she's like the dean of admissions at the school, if you can believe that, or at least associate dean or something like that, which is cool. I was happy for her, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, right? I didn't foresee in April, May of last year that I was going to miss the cut. I knew that I'd probably be on the edge, but I thought it'd be like a 2-4 or something like that, right? It's the furthest thing from my mind or whatever. And now I'm kind of like in her crosshairs in a lot of ways. So anyway, like in late September, she sends me like this long, I think that we're just cool, kind of just keeping it going as it's going. But obviously on her time, I get it, right? So May to September, that's like 4 months already. And we're barreling towards like 5 months of just kind of like this weird limbo where I'm essentially like wasting her time. I don't intend to. I feel like we have like a really nice friendship. And I remember texting a couple of my close friends. I'm like, I think as long as, obviously I'm a guy, right? So it's not like it's not on my mind. I'm like, I think I could probably parlay if I wanted to, blah, blah, blah. There's other things about her. I won't get into all of her business as to why I didn't. But my main thing is like, I didn't want it to be this where it's like, I trusted you with my body and then you just played me or whatever. And I'm like, I'm just keeping it right here. I'm not even going to try to like, try to kiss her or anything like that. There are a couple of times like, I walk her to her car. It's like 2 a.m. or so. And I mean, it's not like I don't live in a scary part of town or whatever, but like, I'm being a gentleman. I'm walking her to her car. It's like 2, even 3 a.m. a couple of times. And, she gives like this long hug and I can tell she wants me to try to like make a move. I don't. I just reciprocate, give her a nice long hug and, drive safe, text me when you get home, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm good. So she sends me like this, angry, I guess is the best way to say it. I mean, it's not like yelling or capital letters or anything like that, but in like late September, she's like, I don't know what this is or what you're trying to do, but this has to stop. Whatever we're doing ends now, whatever. And I'm like, whoa, okay. Kind of playing dumb. It's like, it's a little much for what is happening, but at the same time, I get it. It's not like I understood that at some point this would come, but I thought it would just kind of fizzle out and I'd get back into school or whatever it is, and it would just kind of like ease out and, we'd be fine. So, I kind of low-key played dumb, but still, being contrite, and I try to apologize. I'm like, because essentially what I did, right? So this is what it was. I kind of psychoanalyzed myself. I kind of like borrowed her femininity, as it were, right? So obviously my whole thing, and I told a couple of friends, I was like, I am not trying to do anything with this girl. Like, obviously it would be nice. Like, it's not like at the top of my list or whatever. And even that just sounds awful, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to keep it easy, but I'm really enjoying her company, like, as it is. It's like for the first time, because like, as a guy, if you're kicking it heavy with a girl, you're either trying to parlay or something. I mean, I can't even imagine necessarily another realistic scenario. Obviously, if she wants to be there at that time, that there's like some like or whatever on, on her side. But I legitimately was just trying to keep it where it is. I was like really just enjoying just chatting to her about like life and law school and whatever, right? Of course it looks bad, right? Because now it looks like I was just trying to keep her close so I could possibly use her for something later on for school. Now what she said is like, I think you were just trying to, keep seeing me so that way I'd get weak one time and then you could sleep with me or whatever. And I was like, whoa, no, no. Now, of course, it falls on deaf ears, right? I can say no till I'm blue in the face to her. That's what it seems like. And some of that is like maybe cope, right? Because a woman never wants to think that like a guy just wants you around just because he wants you around, like not because he's trying to use you physically or anything like that. And I should know better because this has happened to me in the past. And this is why they say men and women can't really be friends, because one side's going to end up liking the other. And what I have found as guys, because I've had women say this to me, like, wow, you do the friend thing really well. Because like, even if like I want to be with her, I can still play that role and be like a legitimate friend and just kind of stand in the cut and be cool, right? It's happened where they kind of circle back around and like, all right, I got to take a second look at you because like you do this friend thing too well, even after I told you, I don't necessarily want anything with you or whatever. So this guy walking up to me asking me for money. I'm trying not to break concentration here. All right, now he's crossing the street. But the other way, I've had this happen the other way, and man, the indignancy, is that a word? How indignant the women got, like, it was like I was everything but a child of God. Like, they took it as like a real affront. And you know what? Maybe that is the most appropriate response in a lot of ways when you stop and think about it, like going the other way, like, simping or whatever you want to call it. A friend of mine, he calls it simping. I'm like, no, my baseline is kind and friendship anyway, so it's not an act. Obviously, it sucks if that's what you want, but like they're not offering it or whatever, and you're just like, all right, I'll just be normal disciple, whatever. But I've been in that situation the other way where if she's like, she wants you, and I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm just anything like spectacular or anything like that, but like, it is what it is. Once they've made up their mind that like, they want something romantic, but you're not offering it, especially when they know that like you don't have anything else on the other side, like you're not dating anybody else, you're not messing with anybody else. I'm once again in like a forced celibacy or whatever, right? So, for me, it's like feast or famine. I go through like my moments, and then I also go like many months where I'm just like, I'm not doing anything, and I'm like, damn, I might as well just shave my hair off and just become a monk or whatever. But yeah, I'm in like one of those modes right now. I was supposed to see my friend in St. Louis, but unfortunately her friend had an aneurysm and passed. I'm like, damn, the angel of death is upon us. In addition to a very tough funeral that I have coming up this weekend. But anyway, here I am. So I text her today, and she does like the girl thing where she gets like very formal, like, hi disciple, how are you? Period. Like no like emojis, no like exclamation, like nice to hear from you, da da da. And then she's like, yeah, so if you're gonna talk to me, please message me in my professional email at the school. In other words, don't text me. But she's not blocking me, right? And then I try to counter low key with like a low blow, like, yeah, Dean, who I told you about, he referred me to you. If you feel uncomfortable or whatever, I can just tell him that, like, I'll just deal with him. And then she just repeats, like, in so many words, please refrain from, like, hitting me up here. And I tried to make it nice. Like, I was like, yeah, we can, like, chat this, so, chat a little strategy of me getting back into school over dinner or whatever. And then she's like, just email me on my professional email. And then I noticed, because I happened to be in Instagram, and like, we're Instagram friends or whatever, and we still are. And I just something told me just to go to like our DMs or whatever, where we used to chat or whatever. And then, you know how you can see the circle around somebody's stories where it shows like, there's a current story or whatever, and then it disappeared. And then I went to her page and I noticed like, she didn't block me, but I noticed that like I can't see her stories or her like archive stories or anything like that. So I think she did like a partial block where it's like I can't see. In other words, that a lot of people use their stories as like a personal journal, especially women. And she blocked that, and I also can't see her archive stories, while I can see her regular post that like, she probably just doesn't care about that anybody can see or whatever. But she also does want to like give the game away and show me like as blocked, because then it's like, all right, so it's on now. Like clearly you've drawn a line in the sand type of thing. So, women will be women, right? It doesn't matter how erudite or, she's like, 3-4 years out of law school now at this point, and a dean, as it were. But now it's like, is she going to stand in the way and like block me? Because I think she has that power. I don't know. I would lean towards no. She's very like religious and godly and all that, but I found that a lot of that, and I'm obviously I'm still religious. Like I still I don't go to church anymore. I watch church for the very reason that of this week I got a really bad cold. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm just getting over it now, and I get around crowds and now I just get sick. I don't really understand how this happened, because I work by myself. I go to the gym in a corner by myself. But, it could have been something as, like, innocuous as, like, just touching a doorknob or whatever. I keep my hands out of my face. Like, I'm not one of those people that has my hands in my face all the time. I wash my hands all the time. But, yeah, I had a pretty bad, it was probably a flu. I know it's going around. There's, like, this new strain, and I didn't get my flu shots or whatever, and I didn't take a Zicam or anything like that. So I got, like, the full brunt of it. I was, like, sick as a dog, like, Sunday and Monday. So much so that I couldn't go to my cousin's 50th birthday dinner, which reminds me, I still gotta, I said that I would chip in for it, so I'll still pay for it, but I wasn't there. So yeah, but I feel a lot better. I played ball tonight. I was relative trash. I even had like a steal for a fast break or whatever, then blew the bunny on the fast break, though I couldn't really put a fork in it as far as like my handle getting down the floor and missed the layup. But anyway, we won most games. In spite of me, we won most of our games except for like the last one. So yeah, she could really screw me. I kind of threw a little jab in there and I said, I'll just deal with the other dean if you feel uncomfortable, blah blah blah. But I hope this is recoverable. Now, in a normal world, this should be a situation that can be overcome. I was not mean to her or anything, and I should have known, because probably like in October or so, her friend, the one whose graduation party I went to last year, she texts me and is almost like low-key like scorched earth, like, I can't believe you like mistreated her like this and da-da-da. And I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, you know, she's a beautiful queen and all this, and like, you should have taken her out to like a proper dinner. I can't believe you took her to like Applebee's one time and you have her coming by a late night and like just getting takeout and just watching Netflix or whatever and blah 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 whatever. And she even threw that in there. I remember in the, you know, that text where she was like, whatever this is, this has to end now, whatever. She was like, it's not lost on me that you only want to see me late at night and da-da-da-da. And low-key, she kind of invited herself over at night. I mean, obviously, when you're in it, you don't really think what's happening. You're just like, you know, my buddy's coming over, and we're going to, like, you know, watch, like, All American or whatever that stupid Tyler Perry show is, like something in black or Back in Black or whatever it is. I mean, it's like a guilty pleasure. I like the show, but it's ridiculous. I think it might be back from hiatus right now as we speak, so I might watch that tonight. And whatever else, you know, Jumping the Broom or whatever else that we watched. But we had a good old time, actually, especially given what I'm going through. But as is often the case in life, until you answer the question, the exam will continue to be brought to you, right? Or however that saying goes, but that's like the gist of it, right? So until you pass the exam, you got to take it over and over again. In retrospect, I don't really know how I could have avoided this necessarily. Maybe after that graduation party, I could have just kind of held it there. And then, you know, because I saw her often enough, so that was the good part about things, I guess, you know, good in quotation marks, is I saw her on the campus because, like, you know, she worked in the law library and stuff, so I could have kept it to just, like, kind of like hi and bye and just kept it to conversations there and not broken the fourth wall and turned it into anything else. But, you know, men will be men, right? Even though I didn't do anything, there was still like an undertone of, like, I don't know if sensuality or sexuality is the right word, but it's kind of like just what the doctor ordered while I was going through a oasis of nothing. And, you know, I kind of like leveraged it in a sense, but I felt like I was good. I thought I was good money because I wasn't trying to, like, you know, be a guy and like make a move or anything like that, which clearly would have made the situation worse, right? Because she's like one of those girls, like, if you made a move, then you just got to make her your girl, and which would have been even shittier in a sense. And again, no shade to her. Like, she's fantastic. I actually like her a lot. But, you know, I'm sure that's falling on deaf ears right now. Like, if she's so fantastic, then why didn't you just cuff it? You need to give up on that other girl, but, you know, you can't serve two masters. So that's where things are right now. A crappy situation, and it may, in fact, cost me getting back into school. And again, it's not lost on me that the other dean, I mean, there's like 1,000 deans at this school as far as like admissions and whatever else. And she did say she's only seen like, she said 3, I feel like it's more than that, but it's only a handful of people get back in once they were dismissed. And she said the least of them, like the shortest period was like 2 years off. I'm trying to be like, I guess, the first to come back after just 1 year. I don't see what 2 years does, especially because I'm doing what I need to do, right? I'm working in the legal field. I'm staying close. I'm having all the necessary conversations. I think it does help that I know someone who knows the dean, but at the same time, if she's on the panel, which I suspect she is, and she's like, I don't know how I feel about Disciple. He's kind of whack. He's kind of dumb. I want to see that he earns this, maybe give him another year, and then we'll re-review him in 2027. But this is literally just burning through my life because there's a few things tied to it, right? I can't really change my job realistically because I don't want to learn a new position. Like, I'm at the level now of job where anything that I get, you know, any job that I get is gonna, you know, it's gonna pay a substantial amount, like enough to where you can't just like, you know, I'm no shit on anyone who's a factory worker or whatever, but I'm not just like, you know, loading pallets or doing piecework or anything like that. Like, it's something where you really gotta, like, probably takes you many months, like any job that's gonna put that much training into and that much money just on the front end, and then, you know, pay you like probably around a 6-figure salary. Like, it's gonna take a certain amount of brain power to learn the job and then also focus on law on the flip side in the evening or whatever. Like, you know, you're just asking for it. And one of my buddies who was a manager at my former job, he did the same thing at the same school, did the evening program and everything like that. And he's like, whatever you do, keep your job. You'll be, you know, well compensated afterwards. Don't worry about it. It's going to suck, but keep your job. keep the hours as low as possible, yada, yada, yada. No, I didn't listen to him about keeping the hours as low as possible because I, worked at the optical shop, which ended up like not being worth it, both in terms of like the money, the time, the academic performance and all that. Because I think I'm going to end up losing my my scholarship too, which is was like $20,000 a year. So I'm just screwing myself just all around, all together, and it's completely flipped my life. So, instead of like retiring at a normal age, like say 65, I'm probably going to be working realistically until I'm like 75. That's, no BAP. That's real talk right there. Which is fine. I can take it. A lot of women are not about that life. Even the best women, even if they're, they're spotting you certain years and they're like, women love to see men working, yada, yada, yada. It's going to start to jive with like their ability to retire early and all that. And it kind of gives like old man or like poor decisions or failed man in a lot of ways if you're essentially working right up until you're, if you're lucky, 15, 20 years before you're dead. But a huge possibility of being like fewer years than that. So just all the feels in the wrong direction in this situation. So this is quite the pickle. But I figure I owe it to you to let you know, because it's essentially going to color the next, 3 years of my life, if not more. But anyway, after all of that, the Lord is faithful. Stay with me. God bless.